Today I'm going to be presenting to you on the topic of mass market paperbacks, specifically in reference to the author John Grisham and the thriller genre in which he writes. Here's some of the content we will be covering today in the presentation. So first, a brief history. Mass market paperbacks were brought to the forefront by a man named Sir Allen Lane. Sitting on a train one day, Lane pondered the vision of being able to access and read books during travels as a form of entertainment. He was inspired by a company called Albatross, which established itself in 1932, but didn't quite hit the mark in his eyes. He idealized their categorization of color for subject, their symbol of a bird for their logo, and their streamlined design layout for easy recognizability. 3 years later, in 1935, Allen Lane and his two brothers founded Penguin Books and transformed these business strategies into their own company. Lane focused on revolutionizing the quality of literature available in what we know today as a mass market paperback. Previously, only lesser quality works were being targeted and published in this way. Lane combines the idea of outstanding and praised literature with the medium of low-cost pocketbooks featuring soft covers and small dimensions, selling for a tiny fraction of money, a sixpence to be exact. Timing worked in favor of the three brothers too, as the beginning of World War II saw a demand in inexpensive entertainment and cheap books for the public. Lane acted quickly on this calling in the marketplace and took ownership over the paper supply companies right before rationing was becoming crucial to economic survival. At last, Penguin Books was born. Here's just a brief quote from Sir Allen Lane from the readings that really stood out to this presentation. As we can see, mass market paperbacks came to the surface in the wake of World War II and accessibility issues. The technology of the printing press was well established now, and there was an untapped market in which profits could be gained from. Entertainment was limited and supplies were rationed, creating the perfect climate for an inexpensive good to reach the mass public. The primary audience for mass market paperbacks would be the working and middle class, targeting the largest percentage of the population possible. This being said, everybody benefited from this form of literature throughout the war and into our modern day. The thinner, warmer-hued, and more pulpy paper with standard glue bindings and craft cover materials helped keep costs low, permitting for a cheaper selling point into the target demographic. These inexpensive production values do outwear with time, and the durability is weak, but this wasn't a problem. Mass market paperbacks are meant to be cheap and accessible to the masses, even stated so in their title, not to be kept on shelves and untouched as collector's items. They solved obtainability issues of literature to more people, informing individuals on various topics of culture and society, and permitted information and communication through the object of a book. Here's one quote that stands out to present the value of a book and how it was revitalized, not destroyed, through the mass market paperback form. Mass market paperbacks took a system that was directed towards higher class society and threw it wide across the country and into the world. There was no sudden drop-off or ending existence. It continues to be one of the most accessible, easy to carry, and cheapest formats of the book consumers see today. Here's a chart, and you can pause if you like, with some good comparison notes to keep in mind going forward in this presentation. There are two types of paperbacks. Quality is the major difference between the mass market and trade, but some other key things to note are: mass market paperbacks are small in size, averaging a true pocketbook of about 6 inches by 5 inches wide with small leading, font, and spacing. They are also sold into more gift shops and non-traditional sales channels like grocery stores, pharmacies, and airports. They tend to be released after the initial selling period of the first editions as well, even as much so as a couple years later. Traditional paperbacks maintain their 6x9 size and keep similar interior design layouts as their hardcover editions. They use thicker quality materials and are sold alongside or close to the pub date of hardcovers, maintaining traditional sales channels like bookstores and libraries. Now on to John Grisham. John Grisham was born February 8, 1955 in Arkansas. His parents came from humble upbringings and lacked formal education, but Grisham's mother encouraged him to read a lot in preparation for college. He manifested a professional career as a lawyer, specializing in criminal defense and personal injury litigation. It was here, during his legal profession, that Grisham became a mega bestseller that he is known as today. It is said that Grisham overheard a harrowing testimony and decided to write a novel in addition to his 70-hour work week. Grisham's first book, A Time to Kill, was published in 1987. It was initially rejected by many publishers before a small press called Winwood picked it up. From there, he immediately started working on his second work, The Pelican Brief, in which Grisham ended up selling the rights to Paramount Pictures for $600,000 after completion. Now, with a more pronounced platform, Doubleday, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House as it's known today, finally took notice. As you can see, there's a clear connection sparked between our history of mass-market paperbacks and this author. Grisham continues to practice law alongside writing one novel a year. He currently sold 300 million books worldwide and has 28 consecutive #1 fiction bestsellers. Grisham's work have also been optioned and sold to various film and TV companies like Netflix, for example. All of his works can be classified as legal thrillers, encompassed under the category of the thriller genre. He is said to have a specific formula in his writing, capitalizing on tension and release in his plots. Here's some shelf life statistics to keep in mind when thinking of Grisham. According to Albert Greco, neither 95% of books published today have a shelf life which is shorter than 1 year. Grisham defies this. His novels are unique in that many of them qualify as long sellers because Grisham's publishers will not allow them to go out of print. One of the best ways to ensure that this long seller status remains is to continue to publish his books in mass market paperback form. Moving on to design traits of the thriller book. There are a couple noticeable design conventions that you can see in the examples below that go across all of the books published in this genre. Large overlaid text, bleeding images in the background with no color blocking specifically. The color palette consists of darker hues, blacks, grays, yellows, and blues, and the author name is definitely prominent on the cover. All of these points are further supported by the publications and covers we see today as consumers when we enter stores or libraries. In the examples here, you can see how Grisham's work fits perfectly alongside other thriller titles. His publishers have most definitely conformed and continue to position his work with these design traits in mind to successfully reach their target audience. Different editions of John Grisham's books over the years. Hardcover editions tend to be very stable over time. They adhere to the thriller design traits and keep the same layout for each publication. Their bindings are strong and expensive, showing cloth near the ends, with craft paper on cardboard and foil stamping on the spine. The jackets are made with various high-quality materials, featuring matte and glossy sections, with the folds coming inwards. The paper is very thick and warm, with a standard font size. Trade paperbacks are not a huge selling format for Grisham books in North America. Through research, it's found that translations of the works can be found more so in this format, but not North American or English editions. And finally on to mass market paperbacks. Mass market paperbacks are a great format for thrillers because of how much they sell, their large audience of attraction, and the number of titles that this one category can offer. They are accessible and easy to design with no fussy details. The formula is pretty standard of a name, an author, and an image. More so, when you add the mega bestseller status to an author like John Grisham, it's the perfect recipe for success. The changes in terms of design to Grisham's book occur the most in mass market paperback editions. There is more freedom to keep them relevant to the marketplace. As you can note, even between 2011 and 2012, sometimes a simple banner can make the surname stand out more on the tiny frame. The books are made with more translucent, warm, and pulpy characteristic paper with simple glue bindings. The dimensions remain similar from the first edition of A Time to Kill all the way until present day. There is more focus on changing the image and colors to match with the evolving marketplace than anything else. Further, some books have done extraordinarily well and have special editions made for the gift market specifically, or they include stickers like Netflix to help promote the other film and TV versions of this novel. In the future, we will see a continuing of mass market paperbacks in the marketplace. There will be adjustments, just as the rest of the industry has had to pivot today. Keeping attention on books in this format will be important. For example, with the decline of travel due to COVID and the fact that airports were such a crucial mass market paperback sales channel. Also, the breakthrough of new voices and authors will be an issue that needs to be addressed in mass market paperback format, but with publishers altogether. Houses will look more towards backlist sales and popular brand authors to keep creating profits during these times, adding more challenges to new perspectives being published. More bestsellers, movie tie-ins, and major backlist titles will take the forefront as Netflix continues to expand alongside other streaming revenues. Ebooks and audiobook departments are thriving alongside the print versions of books as well, but issues like accessibility will come to mind when asked how the mass market paperbacks will conquer this ground too. Further, it is possible that mass market paperbacks will become a genre-based fiction, focusing on titles that fall under romance or thrillers, therefore neglecting non-fiction works or other literary titles in this format. Overall, I strongly believe that mass market paperbacks will continue to thrive as they always have, and maintain their three most mutually beneficial attributes to both publishers and consumers. They are cheap, accessible, and convenient. Thank you very much.